Is this most popular advice in personal growth and development circles doing you more harm than good? Everything has its place in your healing and personal growth journey, but nothing applies to everything 100% of the time. However, when someone who is in a position of leadership or authority and they're giving us this advice, we can follow it blindly and not consider the consequences. Hey there, it's Penny here, and I really want to dive into a very common piece of advice given in personal development circles, personal growth circles, even from very well meaning therapists. And it really bothers me that this advice is given. Now, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into this piece of advice here today, but for you to have the truest and deepest context of what you actually want to do to move through whatever it is that's bothering you, whatever it is that you're healing, whatever is coming up and putting itself in your face, that hey, this is here. Let's get rid of this. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, and it's holding you back. Then you want to join Resonance. Resonance is a 90-minute masterclass. I'm holding it this Friday. And in this masterclass, we are going to go deep into emotional mastery so you can master your life. Now, deep, but it's simple, because what I'm going to do is give you a lot of real world, humanized context so that you know when to apply it, how to apply it, and when it's okay to follow this very popular piece of advice I'm about to give you. This workshop is not a launch, it is not a pitch. It is something to help you move your life forward. And it's something that I teach my clients when we're having private chat conversations between our sessions, to help them to have emotional resilience, to help them come to a place where they actually know what to do with their feelings so they don't have to depend on resilience and strength and pushing through and pushing down. And I want that for you too. This workshop, masterclass, whatever you choose to call it, it's $27 right now. But once it's done and the replay gets uploaded for lifetime access, the price will go to $97. And to be quite honest, that is stupid cheap for what I'm going to be sharing in this masterclass. My clients invest 5 figures with me to incorporate what I share in that masterclass alongside the deeper transformation that we do in our one-on-one work. This is a part of all of it, and I want to share that with you. So, what is this piece of advice that people give that can actually be causing you more problems than it is helping you? That piece of advice is move your attention. That's right, I said it. The piece of advice that could be doing you more harm than good is move your attention. Change what you're thinking about. Put your attention somewhere else. Now, this advice has its place, because as we're going through life and something comes up and all of a sudden we have these feelings and a memory come up from the past, maybe we're in a situation in the moment where we can't properly address that. Maybe we're with our kids and we're driving down the highway, or we're shopping, or maybe we're in a meeting at the office and we cannot stop in that moment to address it. Or heck, maybe you're like me and you're with a client on a call and all of a sudden they say or do something that becomes a mirror to you, and it pings something inside of you and you're suddenly aware, oh, I have more healing to do here. I can't address that when I'm on a call with a client. You don't want to address it when you're driving down the highway with your kids in the car and you're trying to pay attention and get safely where you're going. And you sure as heck don't want to do it when you're at a meeting with coworkers, you're bosses or whoever the case may be. So in that moment, moving your attention is not only okay, it's appropriate. But that's not how you solve the problem. When something comes up like that, it has deeper emotional roots and deeper emotional ties that connect to some meaning or perception that we have on that event. Those emotions come up because they have not been resolved and they need to be processed. So, following this advice of moving your attention, what you're doing is you're training your brain. If you do this on repeat all the time, a single instance won't do it. But if on repeat, you're telling your mind, we're not looking at that, we're not looking at that, we're moving our attention. If you ignore what's wanting to come to the surface and be worked through, and the thoughts and the memories that are coming up are not getting your attention to address them, this emotional pain that is running underneath the surface, it will express itself in other ways. It can express itself in your body as physical symptoms. I have a reading list that I give to people who sign up for my hypnosis certification so they can begin to see and understand the link between the mind and the body. And one of those books is called The Mind Body RX by Dr. John Sarno. I will put a link in the show notes so that you can get this full reading list for yourself. But one of the things that will manifest itself in your body as autoimmune issues, tension myositis syndrome, or what people call myofascial pain syndrome, TMJ, inflammation, eczema, psoriasis, is unresolved anger. And a lot of people go, I'm not an angry person. And I get that. You do not, I cannot stress this enough, you do not have to be an angry person to have unresolved anger underneath the surface, because we condition ourselves not to express these things, or we express them as what we think is a different emotion, which I'm going to share more about in resonance. But we can have these undercurrents of things in our life having not been fair that will come up and express themselves in our bodies. Okay. That inflammation, it could end up being high blood pressure. Did you know that? A lot of high blood pressure, most high blood pressure, if you don't have a blockage in a kidney somewhere or a very specific condition where there is too much of certain chemicals being released in the body, high blood pressure is due to inflammation in the body. Cardiac disease, diabetes to some extent is inflammation in the body. That inflammation is associated with the high cortisol levels. When we're stressed, and we don't have to feel outwardly stressed, when we're inwardly stressed, the brain activates the nervous system. We're releasing more cortisol, we're releasing adrenaline, we're releasing inflammatory chemicals, and all of these things impact how the body functions. These things work together. None of them exist in isolation from something else. Your brain, your thoughts, your past memories that are tied to emotions that have not been resolved, that come up day to day, these things influence your physical body and your physical health. Now, I said these things that come up every day. I don't mean consciously. Every experience you have, your subconscious mind is going through a Rolodex, and it is determining based on the patterns that have been established in your subconscious, is this situation safe or is it not safe? Do I need to go into survival mode here or can I thrive? If you've had experiences that cause your brain to be on alert, to be sure that you avoid situations that cause internal emotional pain or stress, your fight or flight system is activated all the time. And I saw something the other day that says that you have to manage your emotions and regulate your emotions so that you regulate your nervous system. I am telling you that while that advice has its place, it is not complete. When you know what to do with those emotions, you can process them quickly, and then they're done. They're absolutely done. When you process your emotions, you don't carry them around with you. They're done. They've served their purpose. When an emotion has served its purpose, it's let go. It is resolved. And every single emotion has a proper, satisfying response so that can happen. And that's what resonance is about. It's to give you that freedom so that you're not caught in this cycle of moving your attention, shifting your focus, and finding yourself on this hamster wheel of having to relive the same old shit every day. Pardon my French, but you know, I this is something we just get to pay attention to. And we get to be brave enough to look at it and let it go. And I know there are people out there who believe, well, this is my past, this is who I am. If that's what you believe, you're choosing that. The past is ancient history. The only thing exists that is right now. And if the choice is made to allow the past to define who we are today, we're doing that to ourselves. No one else is doing it to us. So being able to let go of that is one part of the healing process. But healing those emotions, that's where it really comes down to allowing your body, your nervous system, to get out of hypervigilance and move into a state where you can heal mentally, emotionally, physically. And if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know I'm all about the spiritual, right? So, how does this emotional stuff, how does moving your attention, how does that impact you spiritually? Well, sometimes our thoughts precede our emotions. And what do I mean? Well, we can be talking to someone, our mind can go into problem solving mode, and we can think about, well, what if this thing happens? And once we begin to go down the what if rabbit hole, and we're using the what if rabbit hole to predict potential problems, we can trigger a fear response just based on our thoughts. When we can manage that attention and we notice when our thoughts are going down a rabbit hole and we redirect those thoughts, then we are allowing the space for our soul, for our spirit to come through. When that moving attention is not enough and we're carrying around that old baggage, releasing, processing, neutralizing, I call it neutralizing old emotions, but basically when we process the stuff that needs to be worked through and let go, it frees us up to deepen that spiritual connection. My shaman, Don Javier, shared this on the very first call that we ever did together. And it parallels what I initially learned in hypnosis in terms of the terminology, not the concept, but the terminology. Our brain is like a computer, and we have the hard drive and we have the basic operating system. The basic operating system is your nervous system, fight or flight. The way that our brain builds context for the world or the reality that we live in is when we take in information, we put meaning on that information and it gets filed away and stored. And as our brain begins to see patterns, that becomes our model of reality of what life is. It's why two people can have the exact same circumstances and one's a complete and total victim and everyone's out to get me, and the other person is wildly successful, courageous. They do all the things. And people love to be around them, whereas the other person, nobody can stand to be around them because they blame everyone and everything for their lot in life. But they had the exact same life and opportunities presented before them. As we go through life, everything is a lesson. We always want to remember our lessons. But when we carry the baggage, which is the feelings and the emotions and all the things that go around it, those things do not allow room for growth. Think of this cup. If this cup is full to the top, I cannot put anything else in it. I have to empty something out to put more into it. If it's full of the baggage, it's hard to put good in. There's no room for the good. Sometimes some of the good will go in there and some of the old pours out. But when we're putting the new in, the new mixes with the old. And so some of the new can overflow as well. If you want room to put the new in, you have to empty out the old, which is the entire premise of the mind, body, spirit, self hypnosis that I teach my clients who want to learn that. But the deeper work, that's always what we're doing. We're emptying out this cup so that they have room to pull in and create more of what it is that they want in life. This has to be an ongoing, continuing practice every single day. We have to clear out what doesn't belong to keep making room for the new, or we just fill right back up. And when you have this emotional intelligence, when you learn emotional mastery, you are keeping your cup emptied out as you go through life. You're keeping it emptied out of the baggage to make room for what it is that you want. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode. Head over to the website, pennychason.com/resonance. Sign up for the Masterclass Friday. Even if you cannot attend live, you want to sign up now to get this Masterclass for $27 instead of $97. And I promise you, it is going to become something that you will watch again and again as you master this process and take that and embody it in your life. And maybe you teach your children or you share with other people around you how they too can set themselves free of feelings and emotions that have been riding underneath the surface and driving decisions in your life and theirs. See you next week.